Welcome viewers, it's Mo from the Momentors Talkshow, a platform where I speak to leading women in ministry, business, politics, construction, finance. If you're that woman, then you want to become more and do more, because guess what? You have capacity for more. Tune in every Tuesday at 3 p.m. on Sky 589, Faith World TV, where you'll get inspiration. From Momentors Talkshow, bye-bye. Welcome again, viewers, as we continue on the launch of the Momentous Talk Show, a talk show for you to be inspired, to do more and to become more. A talk show where we advise you or encourage you to say, even though you're going through adversity, do not let that stop you from going for what is purpose for you. So today again, I'm going to ask Evelyn to just join me as we talk, continue to talk about things that are affecting women in leadership, and I'll ask this question directly to you. What challenges do you think women in leadership are facing in this day and age, and how can we encourage the viewers or the young generation to be able to overcome?
Okay, so I would say there are many challenges, but I would say number one, I always believe in starting with yourself. And that's where I believe self-belief comes in. So if you don't believe in yourself, how do you expect anybody else to believe in you? So the first thing is self-belief. So that's number one. And the next is believe in putting in the same amount of effort. I think it's really, really important that we don't expect, we're not entitled to just arrive and be in a position of leadership, but we also have to put in the effort. And I do believe every seed that you put in, you will definitely reap it. So I think it is really important to network. Yeah. Your network is your net worth. I think it's also very important to understand the society that you are in, that you are trying to infiltrate in. So it could be corporate world, it could be in your local community, but you need to understand the dynamics. And that's where I believe as well, women are at an advantage. Our emotional intelligence, and again, you might get loads of comments about this, but our emotional intelligence is actually quite high. So we can step into a place and look, straight away we understand that there is a little bit of tension here, there's hostility. A man could walk in and he'll just get on with it. Yeah. But our emotional intelligence, that means that we can adapt to certain situations and thrive in those areas. So yes, women are looked down. I do agree with exactly what Eula has said. We are expected to be baby machines, maybe in the kitchens. We don't have the same aspirations. But then I still feel as well that women, we also are responsible to prove that wrong, which is actually, no, I do want to come back to work. This is my career path. This is my belief. And so the challenge, to be fair, I would say, is still back to us. It's still, I don't want to throw the blame out there to society, because I do believe that we are change agents. Every woman, I believe, is a change agent. You can make a difference by the effort you put in, making yourself visible, making your voice heard. So I think it's very important, but I do believe it starts within you first.
Yes, thank you for the contribution. And again, it's just really reiterating that actually, the responsibility comes back to us, and we are still in control of what happens to us. Correct. And I'm not one to play the victim in any way. I'm not trying to be the victim. I'm victimizing if I have to, because I need to get to where I need to get to. Yes. And I don't care what anybody else thinks, but actually I believe in myself, and I've got to go to that place where you have to believe in yourself. That's and right. When you do, people actually, you start to attract the right people.
We sit back a lot. Have you realised that a lot of women, we want things, but you notice there's an outer court of women that will talk and talk and talk. But there is no substance behind what they're saying, because if you say, okay, fine, let's gather and sign a petition, or let's walk to the House of the Parliament, well, actually, you'd have 99% of the people that were discussing that, women were discussing that, won't take action. So it's about taking action, isn't it? It's first of all, it's having your faith in yourself, and then take that action to be in that position of leadership to make a difference and be that change agent. Okay. So it's down to us.
Thank you. Wow. Thank you. So, just moving forward, I'll just jump to Eula and just really ask you to kind of maybe from a business world, coming from the business world, what challenges do you see? Do you see these limitations that the ladies are talking about in people lacking belief in themselves? What would you contribute to this? particular challenge?
Yeah, I definitely feel that there's women in business out there that I myself for years had this imposter syndrome going on. You know, who am I to tell people how to run a franchise or, you know, how to build a business? But I did it. You know, it's sometimes you don't necessarily believe in yourself, but you have to portray that you do.
Yes.
And the more you do that, the more that you feel it, and it happens. And it's like Evelyn was saying, that, you know, mixing with other business people as well, and how Eula was saying, just mentoring, like finding somebody to mentor, to hang on to learn from, and then moving forward from that as well, not just staying still. I mean, your journey's been amazing, so you know, it's
so it's part of that, isn't it, what you're saying? And I totally would agree to say, from a personal point of view as well, I've been able to see that, you know, the moment you move yourself from a certain cycle and actually start gravitating towards what you want to become, you know, being around people you aspire to be like, actually you end up being like, you know, them, and you learn a lot from them. So, you know, just going back to Eula, do you think, I mean, I've seen a lot of coaches, mentors, do you see this as there's an influx, it's suddenly happened? Would you say this was not the case in your day when you started working in the banking finance sector? Was this?
No, there was never enough coaching or mentoring, but like Evelyn said, my belief was, if I'm going to get to the top, because remember, I was never retail, I was always customer service, and then they closed that and I was thrown into retail, but no support mechanism was in place. So I need to understand everything in retail, so I had to strip back and self-taught myself around regulatory and compliance, but touch the people who was heading those sectors. But then slowly, as you build in your own team, you create that mentoring, and each one teach one. If somebody's got a skill set, you play that off against the other person, so you connect and they collaborate more, because the team has to want to win, and that was the main objective in the branch. We all have to be on the same page.
And I suppose it's again coming back to you as that woman who's in that leadership position. You need to have that mindset to want to see your, you know, your team growing. You know, mentoring them in a way. And I've seen that in my organisation. I'm even mentoring without realising, you know, because I want them to do more and to become more. So it's also a challenge to us as women in leadership to say, you know what, you got to want it for your team. Then, you know, you can get it out of them that way.
Exactly.
So for yourself, Mrs. Jackson, I know you're into ministry and charity work. You know, from your experience, what would you say are the challenges, you know, for women to get into leadership roles, even in the church? I mean, what are your challenges? Because you're obviously a woman in ministry.
Well, I'll answer you in two parts. It's funny, I worked in banking for 15 years, and in those 15 years, thankfully, I knew who I was spiritually from the time I got into this, one of the really reputable banks here in the UK. During my career there, it took a while, bearing in mind I was not only a woman, but African and all the other things. So it took a while for me to get into management. But for me, what I believed was, because I knew who I was, so I knew that my gift would make room for me. So I was a top seller. When I say top seller, not just regionally, but nationally. So when they look up, who's this? So people used to come from head office to the city where I used to work and say, who are you? So, you know, when people start to find out who are you. But on the spiritual side, I think if viewers are watching there, you know what? I thank God that on this table, against all odds, you ladies are still standing. But where it comes back to is knowing who you are. Do you know, knowing who you are? We are spirit beings. No matter how we want to see, the makeup and everything else is just a cover-up for the person that's inside. So it's that person that we need to have a conversation with so that we can present the best of who we are. So with my journey, I'll give an example with my journey in ministry. Of course, when I found my purpose through pain. I found my knowing who I am through pain. I was suicidal, I was all the above, I was a mess. But then when I realized, wow, there's a God who made me. He's got a plan and he's got a purpose for me. What? I was out there knowing who. Of course, when I get into the church, I was so passionate. But then I got to realize that there was a lot of politics. So if you're passionate, it's like, oh, you want to be an usher, you want to be. And I was like, no, none of that.
None of the above.
So it is there in the ministry as well.
It is. Oh my God, it's
Politics
like
are in there.
yeah.
Wow.
But then, of course, time will tell that, this person. Later on, it's only when I launched the book that some of them were like, wow, is this what this is all about? Because against all odds, I survived. This book carries a message of hope. It's got all the things that, all the emotions that I obviously went through. Then it started to make sense. 2 of those women, I mentor them now. Today they are excelling in ministry because they now know. Once you know who you are, because then you are. It's a race, isn't it? So you won't. You are in your lane. So you won't go into Lorraine's lane because then I'm gonna trip because I don't have any jobs.
Stay in your lane.
But I think this is very important for us to understand, and for the viewers, if you're watching at home, you're watching the Momentors Talkshow, and we are launching today, and I'm talking to women from diverse backgrounds, women in ministry, women in business, women in finance, women in the comedy world, who have used their adversity to get to where they are today. And our message is saying that, we are saying, we want you to believe in yourself first.
Absolutely.
You need to believe in yourself for the next person to be able to believe in you. Know who you are. You've got to have a sense of identity. That's important because you can't expect anybody else to believe in your product, service, brand if you don't believe that you're wearing your brand today. I had to bring the talk show out for people to believe or know that there is Momentors. I could have kept it inside, and for a long time I've wanted to do a talk show, but today we've brought it out, and you viewers can watch it. Subscribe, YouTube channel Momentors Talkshow. Make sure you press the S button and subscribe. So before we go on to the next segment, I'll just take a break. In the meantime, you're watching us on Sky 589 TV, Faith World TV. Please keep tuned for the next segment. Thank you. Welcome viewers, it's Mo from the Momentors Talk Show, a platform where I speak to leading women in ministry, business, politics, construction, finance. If you're that woman, then you want to become more and do more, because guess what? You have capacity for more. Tune in every Tuesday at 3 p.m. on Sky 589, Faith World TV, where you'll get inspiration. From Momentors Talk Show, bye-bye. Welcome viewers, it's Mo from the Momentors Talk Show, a platform where I speak to leading women in ministry, business, politics, construction, finance. If you're that woman, then you want to become more and do more, because guess what? You have capacity for more. Tune in every Tuesday at 3 p.m. on Sky 589, Faith World TV, where you'll get inspiration. From Momentors Talk Show, bye-bye. Welcome viewers to the last segment of the launch of the Momentors Talk Show, where I'm talking to women from diverse backgrounds, women in leadership, women in ministry, business, different segments of the leadership in leadership. And we've been talking about, what challenges women are facing in leadership. And I guess my next question will be to ask, for yourselves on panel today, what do you think can be done to encourage more women, more young girls who are coming up? What can be done for them? What can we do to help them to aspire to be in positions of leadership? What is the message that you have for them? I'll start with anyone.
I think a lot of it's like this, something like this. People see business women being out there saying you can do this. When I left school, I was a nursery nurse. I never thought I was going to be in business, let alone in franchise, and that's a real man's world as well. But you just got to believe in yourself and keep going and keep pushing at it. And the more we can do to talk to people, to just get the message out there, I think that's the way forward.
I also would like to also like to add as well that I think we're in a generation that is the microwave generation, especially for our definitely a spirit. It's a lot of our young women, I would say, want things now, and we have to teach them that it's a process.
That's right.
And you have to go through that process. You can't jumpstart that process, and it's effort. Whatever you sow in, whatever you put in, you get out. So I think it's to encourage them to have a good work ethic. Nothing just lands on your plate. And unfortunately, unfortunately, we're in the phase of social media, and social media is ever the rage. But I think what has probably, shall I say, confused our young women is that what they are seeing on social media is half of the truth. So they might see somebody flying in a jet, and that's all well and good, but they understand there's a process to that. And all these get-rich-quick schemes don't actually last, and they don't work. So I think it's really important to teach them purpose and to teach them that value of yourselves. I think that is really, really important, because it saddens me when I see a lot of our young people selling themselves short because of the material things. And when you realise your purpose and the purpose that is within you, so for example, we started a co-founder of an NGO with my husband, Royal Initiative Against Poverty and Starvation, but that was about giving back. That was about eradicating poverty. It wasn't about ourselves. And sometimes we have to teach the next generation, the generation that is coming up, it's not about you. It's about your community. It's about making an impact. All the other things will come. So we need to show them that it's not about what you see in social media, the glitz and the glamour. That's all wonderful. But I'd say that should be even 5% of what you're focusing on. As you rightly said, we're spirit beings. What are we sowing into the spirit?
Exactly. What I was going to say is that it's very important in this season, from a spiritual point of view, that women that are already in leadership, they need themselves to live by example, to be exemplary. And they need to know that, I know people measure success in different ways, that how many cars you have, how many. For me, I think as women in leadership, we need to look around and say, how many women have I impacted? Because in some cases, we don't have to be mentoring those people. By just our lifestyle, we are what they are watching, how we are doing things. But as many as possible as we can reach out, we need to reach out to our young girls, which is what I stand for with the Against All Odds Still Standing. We go back to the gutter, we go back to the villages, to those girls where there is no WhatsApp, there is no social media, there is a girl in there not knowing what her purpose is. Probably she's been bruised and battered. You go in there and lift her up and begin to be on the journey for her to restore. So if the women in leadership can do that, that would be really, and just loving one another. Come on now. Where did love go?
It's all love, isn't it?
Where is the love? Because all what's happening now is me tripping over her. What's going on?
Totally agree with that.
I would totally agree with you, but saying that now, it starts from in the home. You start, if you've got girls or boys, whatever it is, look at the gun crime. You start from disciplinarian in the home. Education is key, right? You cannot take that note away from you once you pass those degrees. You can go anywhere globally. So I would say for us, as this cultural type of diversity, collaboration is also key. We do not touch each other. We're fretful that somebody's going to take our ideas away. We don't share, and we need to share to then grow and develop and pull the other person behind us. We don't do enough of that.
Absolutely.
We do not.
You are so on point. I know people say, leave the ladder on. And I think in this season, we need to, because when you leave the ladder there, if I'm down there, I'm so intimidated by just even going up the ladder.
Exactly.
How about you coming down and say, Mrs. Jackson,
let's
come,
go.
just one step at a time.
Hands up.
Do you understand?
Yes.
The way how I see women nowadays, it's like the cars that's run out of you need to jumpstart.
Right.
So you know what? If you just stuck there, we need to all come round
Yes.
and say, come on now, push.
Let's go.
As you jumpstart, as that sound begins, it's like, there she goes.
Yes.
Next one.
Yes.
Who else is
Who else
next?
can we help?
Yes, absolutely amazing.
collaboration
And
as
I'm
well.
just being aware of my time, conscious with my
watching
time.
the time.
This is really, really exciting topics that are coming in,
definitely.
guys. These are the messages that are coming from the women who are leading in their, their own places. They're leading and they're saying to us, we need to be each other's keeper. We need to, what I'm
definitely.
hearing, we need to pull each other up. There's no competition. And the sooner I realize that, guys, I tell you, my life has never been the same because I believe that there's never going to be another Mo. So you can have your next talk show after this or a next one and next one. There's always going to be people who are drawn to you for who you are.
Exactly.
And because you've identified who you are and you've identified your purpose. So guys, this is, again, if you're watching from home, and you want to contribute or make sure that you do call the number which is on the screen. We have exactly 5 minutes to complete the show, but if you do want to call in or contribute or engage with us, please do call the number on the screen and we will be able to talk to you. And finally, before we complete this particular episode, I just wanted to ask you guys quickly just to say, what has been your biggest inspiration in your journey? What do you have, or who's your inspiration rather? If there's somebody that inspires you the most, who is that person and why?
I'll go with this one first.
Yeah.
My inspiration is my daughter.
Wow.
She's a lawyer, and I've watched her go through adverse tenacity and focus and drive. And, I just sit back now and I'm thinking it's a duplication of the seed that you said that you've sown into her and not putting any pressure on her, but impacting her life that now she's come out the other end where, I look and I see mini-me.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? The focus and everything. I don't have to do nothing now. I just sit back and relax and enjoy my seed.
Yeah, it's evident. And, well done
Your
to
harvest.
you. And your daughter is, if you want to say, a big shout out to Louise.
Shout out to Louise.
Clark, Mom's, giving you inspire her so much. And, this is amazing because it means that you have you sowed into the ground and it's coming up now. And, it's amazing to see.
I've watched her grow. She's an entrepreneur as well as a lawyer and just won me a trip to go to some sandy place.
Wow. Well, right, I always right. Okay, so quickly around the table, ladies. We have 4 minutes. So just quickly, who inspires you or what has inspired you along the journey and why? Who and why? Quickly.
I would say I'm constantly being inspired,
Okay.
to be fair. My first inspiration was my father and my mum. So they really gave me a good, shall I say, base to start from. And around their work ethics was really important. That was instilled within me. When my father died, my mum continued to push and continue to hold that torch that my dad had. And that continued to propel me forward. So all through, my mum has been an amazing support system. And another person inspires me, my husband. So it's so to be fair, I just probably couldn't talk about. It's just so inspirational, and the people that I'm with, even with Victorious Ladies, they inspire me because I see women breaking the mold, breaking limits. That inspires me. So I'd say day to day, I couldn't cap. So all of you out there that inspire me, thank you.
Big shout out to the family over there.
Yeah.
Mrs. Jackson, we've got you
now.
Well,
I'm just the person that inspires me first and foremost is God. Obviously, that's why I'm here. But my grandmother who brought me up, she was a spirit-filled woman of God, and I never knew things that she taught me were in the Bible. It's only when I started to know God that was like, oh, the Alpha and Omega. It's actually in the Bible. So she inspired me, my mom, and of course, without any shadow of doubt, my husband is a biggest inspiration too. He's just an amazing man. I don't know what stuff.
You better be
makes
watching.
it.
So there you go. Yes, amazing.
Thank you. And my late daughter. And my current daughter.
Amazing. So
my
we've got these people who inspire us. Claire, good to you.
Yeah, I think family for me too. My grandmothers were a huge inspiration in my life. My children are to me now. But my franchisees, where I've grown my business, and most of them are women because it's a home help franchise, and watching them starting a business and being able to mentor them to be able to run their own businesses, they inspire me every day to keep going and to bring more and more people on board.
Wow.
Awesome.
That's
Amazing.
me. So yes.
Thank you. Inspiration?
Well, for
Who
me,
am I?
my mum really, she's hardworking. She doesn't take no for an answer.
Yeah.
That drive really sort of like inspired me. And also through the years, I've learned like NLP, Tony Robbins.
Yeah.
I've been to Unleash the Power Within twice, and every time I've been, things have just changed, and I've just become a different person. And also my husband, he just lets me get on with my madness. He doesn't interfere.
Wow,
so,
amazing. Give it up to your husband. So guys, you know, Mrs. Lorraine is Mr. Lorraine is Mrs. Lorraine
somewhere else.
So thank you so much, guys, and you know, you're watching live here at the Momentors Talk Show, and thank you so much for joining us today. And you know, you've heard for yourselves, and it's so really inspiring to see that your families, you know, have been your core inspirers into what you're doing. You know, it's amazing. I was expecting to hear you know, these celebrities being your inspiration, but actually not. So really charity begins at home.
Yeah.
And I guess really it's going back to us
right.
women in leadership taking you know, that responsibility to say, you know, we need to teach our young ones, the young generation, the way to go, because charity begins at home. So if you're inspired within the home, then you will certainly blossom, and another point to another. So thank you guys for watching the Momentous Talk Show. I look forward to seeing you again next Tuesday at 3 p.m. as I will have in the studio an amazing lady who is a breast cancer survivor, and she has now launched and gone into innovation. So you will be getting to meet her next week. So make sure that you go onto the YouTube channel, watch me on replay, connect to the Momentous Show on Faith World TV, Sky 589, on Tuesdays at 3 p.m. Thank you for joining, and see you next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Welcome, viewers. It's Mo from the Momentous Talk Show, a platform where I speak to leading women in ministry, business, politics, construction, finance. If you're that woman, then you want to become more and do more, because guess what? You have capacity for more. Tune in every Tuesday at 3 p.m. on Sky 589, Faith World TV, where you'll get inspiration. From Momentous Talk Show, bye-bye.